Everyone around the world has wondered how a country the size of Ukraine has lasted against the might of the largest country in the world for 3 months. They have had some beasts patrolling the battlefields and making life very difficult for Russian soldiers. Hello, and welcome to another video from War Secrets. Today we will talk about one such beast named the 2S22 Bohdana, the specifics of the weapon that have been leveling Russian army men left and right. A 2S22 Bohdana is a 155mm self-propelled howitzer. It has been developed by weapon designers in Ukraine. It has been mounted on the 6x6 chassis of the Kraz 6322. It can store up to 20 shells. The 2S22 Bohdana also boasts a minimum range of 780 meters and an impressive range of 40 kilometers. It uses HEAP ammunition to achieve this range, while the range can be increased to 50 kilometers if the 2S22 Bohdana with a rocket-assisted projectile. It has an average rate of fire of 6 shells per minute. The howitzer was brought out to the public for the first time during the 2018 Independence Parade of Ukraine, and then tests were conducted in 2021. Here are some of the specifics of the howitzer and what makes it special. Number 1. Self-Propelled Howitzer. Self-propelled artillery is also called locomotive artillery. It is the kind of artillery that comes equipped with a propulsion system to move toward its firing position. They are generally high-mobility vehicles, which mean light in weight four-wheel riders, and are used as military or utility vehicles. It is used by mounting it on continuous tracks that will be carrying either a large field gun, howitzer, mortar, or some form of rocket missile launcher. These weapons are usually used for long-range indirect bombardment support on the battlefield. Hence, these weapons' indirect fire aims and fires a projectile without relying on a direct line of sight between the gun and its target, as opposed to direct fire. Before the system of self-propelled artillery included direct fire vehicles such as assault guns and anti-tank guns or tank destroyers. These were found on armored vehicles. Thus, self-propelled provided close fire support for foot soldiers, and the vehicles acted as specialized anti-tank vehicles. Modern times have seen the self-propelled artillery vehicles often mount their main gun in a turret on a tracked chassis, so they superficially resemble tanks. However, they are generally lightly armored, which is insufficient to withstand direct fire combat and cannot go against heavy gunfire all that well. But still, this protects its operators against shrapnel and small arms, which may be easily deployed by infantry soldiers. Hence, they are therefore usually included as armored fighting vehicles. Many are equipped with machine guns for defense against enemy infantry, thus making sure close-range defensive and offensive support can be provided by the vehicles. The crucial benefit of self-propelled over towed artillery is that it is dragged around by relatively lightweight trucks, which is that self-propelled artillery can be brought into action much faster. Before the towed artillery can be used, it has to stop, dismount, and set up the guns. To move position, the guns must be mounted up again and brought, hence the term towed, and taken to their new location. By comparison, self-propelled artillery can stop at a chosen location and begin firing almost immediately, then quickly move on to a new position. This shoot and scoot ability is very useful in a mobile conflict and particularly in the advance. Number 2. HEAP ammunition. The 2S22 Bohdana uses HEAP ammunition. It is called High Explosive Incendiary Armor-Piercing Ammunition, or HEIAP. It is a form of shell which combines armor-piercing capability and a high explosive effect. In this respect, it is a modern version of an armor-piercing shell. The ammunition may also be called semi-armor-piercing high-explosive incendiary, SAFI. Now, an example of such rounds is the Raufoss Mk211, which is designed for weapons such as heavy machine guns and anti-material rifles. The primary purpose of these munitions is armor penetration with better beyond armor effects. It can destroy the post penetrating the armor. It has a similar effect to that of SLAP rounds, Spotted Light Armor Penetrator. They get their armor-piercing ability from the propulsion of a 7.62mm tungsten-heavy alloy bullet from a 12.7mm barrel, 50 cal, using a sabot with much more energy than is usually possible from a 7.62mm round. It is also able to combine explosive effects with the above-mentioned specifics. The special effect is developed when the round strikes the target. It does when the initial collision causes ignition of the incendiary material in the tip. This triggers the detonation of the high explosion charges. The second zirconium powder incendiary charge will ignite, caused by a chain reaction started by the collision of the round. These burns at a very high temperature and are not easily extinguished and can last up to 15 minutes. The final element of the round is the tungsten carbide penetrator. This has a large amount of kinetic energy and will breach the armor as a solid core armor-piercing shot would. This will take the incendiary material and about 20 steel fragments created by the explosives, delivering them in a 25 to 30 degree cone through the armor, increasing lethality and the damage caused. The triggering of the explosive charge is dependent upon the resistance provided by the target. If the target offers little or no resistance, then the lack of frictional heating will prevent the incendiary from igniting and the high explosive from detonating. Number 3. Rocket-Assisted Projectile. It uses rocket-assisted projectiles. Rocket-assisted projectile, or RAP, is a cannon, howitzer, mortar, or recoilless rifle round incorporating a rocket motor for independent propulsion. This gives the projectile greater speed and range than a non-assisted ballistic shell, which is propelled only by the gun's exploding charge. Some forms of rocket-assisted projectiles can be outfitted with a laser guide for greater accuracy. Across the world, other weapons that use the same technology are also strong and powerful, such as the German Sturmtiger, which uses a 380mm rocket-propelled round as its main projectile. These rounds were high explosive shells or shaped charges with a maximum range of 6,000 meters. The gun first accelerated the projectile to 45 meters per second, and the 40-kilogram rocket charge then boosted this to about 250 meters per second. The North Korean M1978 and the M1989 Koksin 170mm self-propelled gun can use rocket-assisted projectiles to achieve a range of around 60 kilometers. At one time, this was the world's longest-range tube-field artillery piece. This weapon is also made using NATO standards. It required member armies to have corpse-level artillery that could fire to a minimum range of 30,000 meters. Nearly all member nations solved the problem with RAP rounds in their 155mm artillery, sparing the Belgian army, which was the only NATO member army that did not require RAP, reaching the required range with a conventional round. Weapon testing. The new Ukrainian NATO standard self-propelled artillery mount Bohdana with the 155mm caliber had completed preliminary firing tests. The test results show that the Bohdana self-propelled gun could be put into service this year. The last preliminary test of the Bohdana self-propelled guns took place at the Alabay training ground of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine in the Odessa region. From December 12, 2021 to January 25, 2022, the howitzer fired 450 shells, including at a distance of over 40 kilometers. Ukrainian officials said the official firing range of 40 kilometers declared by the developer had been surpassed, and the self-propelled guns could fire a conventional projectile at 42 kilometers. 2S22 Bohdana is developed and manufactured by PJSC Kramatorsk Heavy Machine Tool Plant. Ukraine tested the gun with 155mm caliber shells from the Czech Republic and Turkey. The preliminary tests were carried out as part of a defining departmental test, which made it possible to put the Bohdana self-propelled guns into service this year. This latest is the third stage of fire tests of the Bohdana. The first and second took place in 2021. The first stage of preliminary testing of the self-propelled guns took place at the end of spring 2021 after an almost year-long break due to the lack of NATO caliber shells. 2S22 Bohdana features automatic loading, which allows a 5-person crew to fire 6 shells per minute at a distance of 42 kilometers and a maximum range of 780 meters in minimum range. It is designed to fire a rocket-assisted projectile at 45 to 60 kilometers. Bohdana has an automated guidance system based on Siemens SciPlus and Somatic HM controllers, and an automatic shell loader. Bohdana is built on a 6x6 chassis of the Kraz 6322, and the armored cabin can store 20 shells. Bohdana is installed with a 7.62mm gun. So by the time the Russian soldiers attacked the Ukrainians, they had not started to produce the 2S22 Bohdana. They have not been able to produce any more units of the 2S22. Even though experimental, it can easily be called the best ever howitzer gun that has come from the minds of the Ukrainian army. And if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the video to help support us. Also press the bell icon in the video to get our videos as quickly as we post them.